Okay, so another top 10 list, but real quick, everyone, make sure you follow me on Twitter. My Twitter the link is in the description below at Jackson Kruger. I've been plugging it and I've gotten a lot of, good amount of follows. I think I've gotten like 100 follows in a week, which has been pretty fun. So for me, I usually never plug it or anything. So it's been fun. Everyone, follow me, say hi. It's a good time on Twitter. Anyways, let's get into the list. This is top 10 backup quarterbacks. I don't know how much interest people are going to have in this. I have a ton of interest in it, so I want to just go ahead and start talking about it. Number 10, Kellen Mond. I should be clear. You see on the banner right over here where it says NA. That means not applicable, of course, which the reason why I have an NA there is I put the passer rating of everybody's most recent season there just sort of as a, a way to say, okay, that's kind of how they are. There's just a stat to put on the screen. But for Kellen Mond, obviously, he didn't play last year, so that's why it says that. So just explaining what that is. Unfortunately, the first guy I put on the list didn't have a passer rating last year. But, the reason why I do have Mond low is I think that he's probably the most pro-ready, maybe the most pro-ready guy, at least most pro-ready backup rookie quarterback. So, again, the way I did this was if I consider you to be the worst quarterback on your team, but are you a good enough backup? That's how I did this. So at least as of today, I do have Kirk Cousins ahead of Kellen Mond, but I do think Kellen Mond is probably better than the other guys. So I think he's probably more pro-ready than Justin Fields and Trey Lance. At least I think it's close, but I think that I kind of went to him. And again, it's for today. It's not for the future. So I know, again, I can talk all day about how great Kellen Mond is, but, that's why I have him here. Number 9, I have Jordan Love, who's another guy who has not played in the NFL. But, it's tough because I've really only felt strong about 8 backup quarterbacks. So I had to put 2 more. And I kind of said with Jordan Love, there's stuff I like about him. And the factor is he at least did have a season of being in the NFL, whereas these rookies haven't. And I do feel like, rookies tend to not play too well. So at least with him, he's had a season under his belt, which is why I put him over the rookie backups. And now let's get into the top 8, of which I think it gets a little bit more interesting once we get to there. Number 8, I have Joe Flacco. Yes, really, I have Joe Flacco. Don't laugh. Why are you laughing? No, seriously, I think Joe Flacco is a good backup quarterback. He's not an incredible one, but again, one thing to keep in mind is I'd rather have a guy like Flacco than a guy like Jordan Love or Kellen Mond. Like, I'm a huge fan of Kellen Mond, but I think Joe Flacco is right now a better quarterback. He's played longer. He understands how the NFL game works a lot more than someone who's never played in the NFL before does. That's just my opinion on it. And again, it's a right now list. The other factor with Flacco is I've seen him play competent football for several different teams. He played competent for the Jets. Getting above 80 passer rating with that squad, that's pretty impressive, right? Again, he's not a spectacular quarterback. He's the 8th best backup, but there's value there. And I think that he had some stability. And for the Eagles, I mean, again, it's a rough situation. I like Flacco better as, a backup for a good team instead of as a potential starter for a bad team. But that's kind of where he's found himself. But there's value there. Number 7, I have Cam Newton, and should be mentioned, Cam Newton might end up being a starter to start the season. It looks like he will be the week 1 starter, but that is not how I did this. If I don't consider you to be the best quarterback on your team, then you're eligible to be on this list. So I consider Mac Jones to be a starting quarterback, meaning that Cam Newton is now eligible to be on this list. I put him here at 7. And again, there's stuff to like. He definitely would, have some throws that were nowhere close, but that's kind of been a thing all of his career. He can still run pretty well. He's never been known for his passing. He can do it, obviously, but he's most known for his running, which might not be what it once was either, but there's still value. And again, someone who's been in the league for a while, I guess the one maybe criticism you would have as him as a backup, which I think he will be a backup at the end of the season, even if he doesn't start out that way. The one, criticism might just be, can he really fill in for someone else because his skill set is so unique? But I still think there's talent there, so I'm going to put him at 7. Number 6, I have Case Keenum. Case Keenum is kind of an underrated quarterback. Again, He's not a superstar. He's not someone I want as a starter, but he's a really good backup. And again, he had that year with Minnesota, of course, when they went all the way to the NFC Championship game, got crushed in that game. He was a part of why they got crushed, but still, he got them there. I do think a lot of it was luck. I do think there were a good amount of dropped interceptions that year and sort of him just, YOLO balling stuff up for Thielen and Diggs to make the play. But still, there was plenty of him doing solid work as well. And for a backup, he can definitely get it done. Number 5, Marcus Mariota. Mariota's not a bad quarterback either. I was surprised when I looked at the stats. And again, the stats don't tell everything because, how often did he take a sack when he absolutely did not have to, like all the time? So that's an issue. And he didn't really push the ball down the field. But, his passer rating, that's from when he was in Tennessee. That's not from when he was, with the Raiders last year, where he did have a good game. So again, not someone I necessarily want as a starter, I would say. I don't consider him a top 32 quarterback, I don't think, but he's a top 5 backup for sure. So the Raiders, they paid him for a reason because he can fill in really well. He nearly won a football game, which if your backup quarterback can win you a big football game, that's exactly what a backup quarterback is supposed to do, and then some. Number 4, I have Mitchell Trubisky. That's right. Again, it's funny how like Marcus Mariota has kind of become a guy who we all say, oh yeah, he's a good backup. But with Trubisky, it kind of makes you think like, Trubisky, I don't know, wasn't that good. But again, we felt that way about Marcus Mariota last year, right? The reality is that a guy who just isn't good enough to be a starting quarterback is a great backup quarterback. Because that's how it works, right? Yes, Trubisky probably not a starter, but there was some real good stuff he did with the Bears, and he made the playoffs multiple times as the starter. He started all the playoff games. So there's stuff to like there. He's not the best quarterback in the league, but he's solid. Number 3, Taysom Hill. Now, the passer rating of 98.8, I think, is misleading, and it's because it's set up due to his rushing ability. But again, he has that rushing ability. He's a unique player, and I guess, I didn't factor this in. There is the flip side of he also adds stuff when he is a backup quarterback because he can actually play in the game. But, I didn't factor that in. I'm simply just talking about when he is a quarterback. And there's value added. There absolutely is. Again, he kind of has that similar Cam Newton thing of, well, he's a backup quarterback. Then, how exactly does that work? Because he's so different than every other quarterback. But I think the Saints have shown that they can transition and have him be a starter pretty well. They just can't really do it in the middle of a game, which is the only drawback. And again, he's someone who's unique. He's someone you're not used to dealing with, and that's usually difficult to stop. Number 2, I have Jacoby Brissett. His numbers aren't as spectacular. Again, he's never had the best receivers in Indianapolis. He's now with the Miami Dolphins. I almost said Marlins for some reason, with Miami Dolphins. And I think he'll be really good. He's someone who I've always sort of liked. There was actually a point when he was kind of like a fringe like MVP candidate that one year that he, replaced Andrew Luck. Again, I don't know if I want him as a starter, but he might be a top 32 quarterback. He might be on that level, in my opinion. I actually think he's a little bit underrated, so I have him at number 2. And number 1, Gardner Minshew. Listen, I get why the Jaguars went with Lawrence. That makes sense. I'm not going to criticize them for that. Quarterback position, so important. If you can get an upgrade at the quarterback position, it's easily worth the first overall pick. But there's still so much I liked about Minshew, and it does feel like his, he kind of got ruined a little bit being stuck in Jacksonville. And, I wish he would just like demand a trade or something, try to get a starting job somewhere. Because wouldn't it be so much fun to see him in Carolina? Right? Wouldn't that be a blast? So I wish that something like that would happen where he would actually get an opportunity, because I think he is really good. And I've been really impressed with what I've seen from him. So I don't know. It's unfortunate. And I do think that maybe just because he was a 6th round pick, but it feels like he never really got a fair shot. That's just how it feels to me. He had a couple bad games his rookie season, and then all of a sudden gets benched for Nick Foles. Then this year, he maybe had a bad game or two, but he was pretty solid. Like there was nothing horrible, but again, you're going to have your good and bad throughout the course of a season. Look at Tom Brady. He certainly had some faults throughout the season. The Rams game, the first Chiefs game, right? The Bears game where he forgot how many downs there are. But when you're a 6th round pick, which, funny enough, so was Brady, but I'm not saying those two are the same. I'm just using an extreme example of the guy who literally won the Super Bowl was a a guy who had some downs. But when Gardner Minshew has a down, you're thinking, okay, 6th round pick, this makes sense. Let's give another guy a shot. Well, no, I would rather see Minshew get the shot. So yeah, that's my list of top 10 backup quarterbacks. What do you guys think about it? Let me know in the comments below. Always love hearing from you. And of course, as always, thanks for watching.